Hello and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to take this guitar right here, which you might be able to tell is a right-handed guitar. Well, we're going to turn it into a left-handed guitar. But before we do that, we need to do one thing, and that is to take it apart. So, let's do it! Woo! So here I have some double-sided tape, and I'm just going to try to put some down. A couple of pieces will do, and I'm using the real good stuff, the carpenter thing. I know we all have that favorite YouTuber guy who is always talking about using masking tape and super glue, but you gotta understand that's because he can't get the stuff that is good that you're actually supposed to use. And you know, when you can't get quality material, you have to do with other things. So I know someone always, when I use this, is suggesting the super glue or masking tape thing, but it's actually not that good. And I'm kind of overdoing it a little bit, I think, right now. At least I feel like I am. But that's okay. It's better to have too much tape than not enough. I can use the razor blade to just move over the tape like this to really press it in. I don't know if you can see it, but it becomes a little bit transparent. You can like see the grain through the tape when I'm doing this. And then I can pull off other protective film that is on top of the tape. And then I can take my template here that I just made. Let me know if you know what kind of guitar this is. It's something I've been wanting to have for a long time, actually. See if we can get it aligned. And then we just press it down. And then we put clamps on it as well to clamp it in place. That's more a safety thing, you know, for the router, so that it's not moving. Make everything real tight. And now we can move on. Okay, so I'm just gonna start routing, and I'm not gonna film that, but I'll show you what I'm doing, how it works. So this is the template, and this edge here is what I'm following. And if you look at the router here, and it's not plugged in, obviously, because I don't want to touch it when it's not plugged in, but if you look at it here, as a bearing, that means that anything this aligns with, this blade will cut to the same line. Here I have a rough cutness. It's basically about a mil or two overlap, and the bearing come in. So I don't know if you can see it. There you can see the bearing coming through, and it will follow along this here and just cut away everything else. Here you can see the roughness, and if I move the camera up a little bit, there you can see the edge. You can see that it's not aligning perfectly. And now I'm going to route and cut to afterwards, and you'll see the difference. Now if you look, you can see here a new lip. And that's just because I didn't go all the way down, but I will later. But now you can see the new match here. So this is where the old was before we started, and here's how flush and nice it's going to look. And when you make your templates, you make them look perfect. You make them super nice and smooth and perfect, so that every copy you make of it turns out great as well. And that way you basically only have to make it perfect once, and then you replicate the perfectness. I'm going to wrap this body now. See you in a bit. So I just wanted to show sort of a before and after in a very quick and easy way, because if you look at this, you can see I haven't really routed all the way through. And so, yeah, if I show you like this, you can see sort of how it looks rough. But if I show you like this, you can see what it looks like when it's more refined. The actual edge, everything looking exactly the way we want it to be, and perfect and nice. And so now I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna route this edge, this little lip here, away. And yeah, I'll be back real soon. If you want to see more routing and you felt like I didn't go through it enough in this one, there are loads of other videos where I do that. Yeah, just felt like this one doesn't need it. It's just a router going around, and there's a bunch of noise, and I usually also speed it up. But if you want a more in-depth thing, I can make a separate video about just template and routing and that sort of thing, but you're gonna have to ask for it then, because otherwise I'm not gonna do it. So you just saw me drill a couple of holes, and that is because this body is not thick enough to be a body. I'm using scrap woods, pieces that would otherwise be thrown away, or, well, not thrown away, but not used for the guitar. So I'm gonna glue on a top and a bottom to this, and that means that I could hollow this out and make it semi-hollow. I built a semi-hollow body not that long ago, the Strat, which we haven't finished, and I know we haven't, and yeah. Anyway, but what I thought was that I could do a little bit of weight relief on this. We're gonna have a cavity up here for the switch, and a cavity down here for the controls. We're also gonna have cavity for pickups and neck pockets, but that comes later. But instead of routing this out, I was thinking I could just take my jigsaw and just cut that channel straight through. Super easy to do. Just connect those two and it's golden. And same thing here, I'm just going to cut along there and along there with my jigsaw. And then I don't have to worry about those channels because they will be in place. Then I can drill holes from the pickups to these and from the bridge, and everything will be good. I'm still gonna have to route out a place here for the switch, and I'm still gonna have to route out a place here for the controls, but at least I will have somewhere to start off. Okay, so here it is now. And I know someone is probably going to say, why didn't you route that out? But you have to understand, doing it with a jigsaw is so much faster. It's like ridiculously easy to do with a jigsaw. So that's why I did it this way. And they don't look perfect, but as I've already said, next step is gluing on the top and gluing on the back. And so you'll never see this. Okay? Good. See you in a bit when the glue has dried. It doesn't seem to matter how many clamps I put on. There's just never enough. Okay, so there you have it. It's all looking good. It's all a big block, but it's actually not that heavy. And now we can jump into cutting out the neck pocket and the pickup. I've got the word. Cavities for pickups. I don't remember what they're called. Pickup cavities. And we can cut out holes for the controls and a hole in the back here for the cavity for all the controls and all of that. All the holes that the guitar needs. But before we do that, we need to take a closer look at this neck heel, because I am going to heat it up and strip it back and glue it in. You can't have finish on wood when you're going to glue wood to wood. So we're going to do that first, or at least I think we're going to do that first. I don't really know. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I actually need to go to bed. So yes, there's going to be a tiny little break here, but you won't really notice it. Will give me the chance to get some close-ups on this. Not completely perfect. I had a little bit of a tear out, which maybe you saw, I don't know. But I had a little bit of a tear out. But since I'm going to paint the sides black, I'm just going to put some Bondo or filler or something in there, so it won't really matter. Let's just continue working and do some cool stuff. So I'm gonna snap my fingers and go to bed. It will be a new day. I've drawn a line here, and I'm gonna just take a knife. I'm gonna cut the tape, and I'm also gonna cut into the lacquer at the same time. And I'm not worried about this being perfect, because it's never gonna be completely perfect. Which, you know, someone is probably gonna have some sort of opinion about. But the thing is, I'm gonna glue in the neck, and we're gonna plug these holes as well. And then I'm gonna paint the guitar, and I'm gonna match up the neck. So as long as I don't have to like repaint the entire guitar, I'm pretty good, I feel like, you know. But if I have to do a little bit of touch up here and there, then I'm okay. Something like that. And now I can remove this, except tape, and then we can take our heat gun and we can see if we can maybe start getting rid of some of this. Because when we go to do the neck pocket, you know, this whole thing here, on the new body, we don't want to do it to the size of the lacquer. We want to do it to the size of the bare wood. Because we want a nice fit that is neat and nice and tight and all of those things. start off by just heating the back here, and I'm gonna like pull it off like this, or point it this way so it doesn't touch the tape. And we'll just start off by the back here. Something like that. Now it's heated up and good, and we can just take our knife and just see if we can maybe, yeah, just get rid of some. Like so. And as you can see, it's going fairly okay. And we're gonna have to go back and forth and heat it up. And hopefully, when we scored this line, we scored it enough so that the lacquer breaks. Okay, so I've removed it all, as you probably can see, or at least I hope you can see it. There it is. I did the back as well. And when you do this, it's going to be hard for me to show you. You'll see it when you do it. You have the clear coat on top and then the black paint, and then you have a filler. And you have to get that filler off too, so that you get down to bare wood, because we can't glue the filler. So you hear, that's wood. We have to get down to the wood, the bare wood. And you can probably tell that I have a little bit of mistakes right here and there, but I promise you, it doesn't matter. We are gonna fix everything, and when we glue it up, we will have these little things that we have to fix, but we're gonna paint everything black, and you know, the entire body and everything like that, so it doesn't matter, is what I'm trying to say. We will fix it afterwards. Okay, so we have to drill out these holes to 6 mil so that we can fit these plugins. And I'm just gonna start off like that and just go slow. And I can see into the hole, and I can just make sure I drill far enough so that the hole disappears. I hope that makes sense. If you are worried you're gonna drill through, which I you know, it's fairly deep, so you won't, I think, unless you're really pressing down and going crazy. But if you're worried, you can measure the hole, put a piece of tape, and take an extra precaution. But you can also just go slow, take your time, and you know, it will go well. Now I'm just going to put in a little bit of glue, just regular wood glue like this, and just, you don't need that much because this is going to get filled up later anyway, but just push it in, swirl it around with an awl a little bit, like this, so that it covers everything. I'll clean off the awl real quick, and I'll just push these in, and we'll see, hopefully they fit. And if you want to, you can hit them with a hammer, which I'm going to do. Just use a small hammer, something small that can just tap them in. And you should be able to hear, you know how you can hear how it doesn't sound hollow anymore? Or at least I hope you can hear it. I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but you should be able to hear it. I'm going to clean off the excess and just put this to the side and let it dry. It says 20 minutes on the package, but I think we're going to leave it for a couple of hours because we have some work to do on the body, and there's no point in cutting these to size quickly or, you know, stressing out about it. So yeah. Okay, so here is the old body, and as you probably can tell, or at least I hope you can tell, this cavity here is in an angle 5 degrees, and maybe you want to transfer that and you want to know how to do it. And you might be thinking, oh, I'll just take one of these and I'll put it up like that, and then I'll just match this up and I'll get the angle. But as you can see, there is nowhere that I can put it. I would need one that is a lot longer to be able to do that. Well, I'm going to show you another way to do that, which is silly easy. So you put the guitar body on something flat. So here I have a flat surface. And you can put a ruler in the cavity, like so. And now you have the angle going out over here. And now you can take your measurement, and it's going to be a little bit fiddly for me to show you because I don't have enough hands for this, and I want to not be in the way of the camera. But you can take and just move it out like this and put it up. And as you can see, now it's not that hard for me to match this up and find out the size.
I was gonna show you how to make a angled template, and maybe one day I'll do, but I found that I have a template already, and this is 2 degrees less, but I think it's gonna work anyway because you don't necessarily need to have the exact angle, and so we're gonna use this instead. But just quickly telling you how I did this is I cut out a piece of plywood and I ran it through my planer thicknesser and I lifted it up so that it would be with another piece of wood underneath here, so that it would be completely flat like this. And then when I took it out and took off the other one, it would be angled down like this, which you can probably tell if you look at this. You can see it's 2 pieces of plywood and one of them gets thinner and thinner. And there's a lot of other ways you can do it, but that's one way that I've figured out that makes it very easy to do. Okay, so here's my template put in place. You might see some extra brackets here. I just glued those in place a couple of hours ago and left them to dry, just because this pocket is a little bit too big and I'd rather creep up on it on my own with the final 1/2 mil than to cut it too big. And here's the router. And I have a stop here on the side, maybe a little bit hard to see, but there it is. And I've just clamped it down here and made sure that I have enough space. This can't cut any further down than I want. And I can touch all of these things because this machine has no electricity in it right now. Don't touch the bits and things like that with the machine having electricity in it, because you can hurt yourself. As you probably understand, that's super sharp and it's spinning, and if you accidentally start it up while touching it, you can hurt yourself. Here is and again, don't touch this, there's no electricity. Here's the blades, here's a wheel, and that wheel will go along here, the bearing, and I'll just try to hog out this material here in the middle. So, I'm going to start up the machine, put on some ear protection, and let's just go. Had a little bit of an accident there. This one got pulled off. So I'm just gonna glue it back on and we'll be back and ready to go real soon. So don't worry. The sort of things that happen sometimes. Okay, so here is the cavity now, and we can just loosen these clamps. I'll just put them to the side like this real quick. And we'll remove this one. And as you can see, it's a little bit there, and I can take these off. And I have my template, and I can always glue these back on if I need. So, next up is gonna be to put on the template that goes here. And I just did a quick mock-up just so I would know what I'm doing. So, please ignore that it's wibbly and wobbly. I have a template that is what we're gonna follow. It's somewhere around here, somewhere. Here it is. See? Told you. I know what I'm doing. Not strange at all. Just gonna clamp this in place. Gonna mark it up with these lines here. And yeah, so this center line here and this center line here are the same. I'm gonna use the inside and the outside here to mark it up, because I obviously don't have a center line here anymore. And I'm gonna just gonna route this. But I don't feel like you need to see me route these neck pockets, because I've already shown you when I routed this, and it's not that much to see. But I will show you making this one, sizing this up to be a little bit more accurate. So when I come back, these 2 pockets, the neck and the bridge, and you can't see the bridge because it's just out of frame, but it's over here. I'll just route those real quick and I'll be back. Okay, so here it is right now, and as you can see, I have the cavities and the channel that I did just a while ago. You can see it there and there. So I was hoping that it was a little bit more like that, you know, going through this a little bit more and going through this a little bit more, but that doesn't matter. It is where it is, and that's, you know, you gotta hope for when you're just drawing random lines and you're hoping that you're doing something right. Sometimes you're lucky and it turns out that you're actually right. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be a big deal. I mean, obviously it's annoying to have a channel that goes to nothing, but I could have always drilled with a long drill bit. Next thing is to make this pocket here the size that it needs to be in order for everything to fit. And I also need to cut out little notches for the pickups, because as you can probably tell, not a part of the template, because the other template is more of a every humbucker size thing, and I didn't make a template for these because they're probably not going to stay in the guitar for that long. I don't know. We will see what happens, but I'm going to measure this out and just cut little nudges. It will go super fast, but never mind that. Yes. Next thing is to just size this up, so I need to just locate the neck and draw out some lines. So let's do that real quick and see what happens. Okay, so it's maybe a little bit hard to see because there's so many lines, but I know which lines there are, and I measured out that line there and that line there. And I'm just gonna try at least to move back and forth like this and see if I can get up to that line. It's gonna be a little bit hard with this one because you can see it's flexing a little bit as I'm pushing on it. So we'll see what happens. And I might actually just start here for now. And we'll see what happens. And I'm just gonna move like this. So here is the neck right now, and as you can see, it looks pretty nice. Goes all the way across the body. Here is a little bit of close-up, if the camera will allow it. There's a little bit of close-up. As you can see, the joint looks pretty good. I cut it down to size there because it's like meaningless and also a little bit in the way. And as you can probably tell, if I move this around a little bit, there's the body, and then it goes straight through like so. I have this template here. It comes with this thing here that I made, and it's for making sure the controls for Telecaster works the way it's supposed to, and I'm just going to use that to make the hole. I've already drilled, as you can see, and I'm just going to hog out the rest. And this part here I'm going to move back a little bit because it's not going to fit perfectly. I mean, it fits perfectly now, but for the holes that I want to make, I'm going to have to relocate everything and make it a little bit different, I think, maybe. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. We'll get to that when we get to it. But first, let's just hog out all of this. So, ear protection on. Can you see the ear protection? There it is. And then just take it all away. It's maybe a little bit hard to see, but there you have it. And it looks pretty good. Or at least, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so as you can see, I've drawn some lines, and I'm just going to freehand route this. It's going to be fine. As long as I stay within these lines, it's going to be okay. It doesn't need to be more perfect than this. And I'll just, I don't know, I'll go almost to the bottom, leave a couple of mils, and then, yeah, it'll be good. Ear protection, as always, and yeah, just clean this up a little bit. And I think that's good enough. Okay, so I'm gonna do an experiment that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, but I've never gotten around to do it. And I'm gonna do it on this guitar. And that is, I'm gonna dye the wood
with some stain, like this. And I'm going to do it like super black. So I'm going to dye it a couple of times. And I'm going to dye the top and the back. And then I'm going to sand it back and I'm going to dye it again. And I'm going to do that a couple of times and just let this really sink in so that it becomes really, really black. And the experiment is to basically do like a sunburst, but black on black burst, basically. And then I'm going to spray paint the sides black so that they become, you know, solid black. And I'm going to have a little bit of a black burst as well. And I'm going to just go crazy, is my idea. And yeah, and we'll see how it looks to have like a really nice solid black. But then if you're a little bit closer, I'm hoping that you will still see some of the grain and still see some of the... So I'm just basically flooding this. I'm not putting on a gentle tiny coat that is see-through. I'm just smearing it on like a big blob. Obviously I'm not letting it, you know, lie on top like a puddle. I am smearing it out, but I am gonna like be uncareful, I suppose, and just basically let as much as possible, because because the thing is, I don't know if you can see it, but the softer parts of the wood will absorb more and faster, and then the rest will take longer, and so you can end up with this sort of zebra effect, and I don't want that. I want it to be a very subtle effect where the guitar is black, and if you're, you know, a meter or two away from me and or if, you know, I'm playing this on a stage or something or whatever, then you're not gonna see it, you're not gonna notice it. But then if you like pick up the guitar and you hold it to yourself, you might go, whoa, I can see the grain. So here's the front, and I'm gonna move the camera around and let you see the first layer, and I'll be back and show you once I've done a couple of layers and I'm kind of happy with it. So now it looks pretty good. So yeah, you can see the grain, but this is just the first coat. So hopefully it will become even less and less. And we'll see what happens. Okay, so here is the back after first layer of paint, and as you can see, it's sinking in pretty well. It's not 100% even, but it's okay because this is just a flood basically of paint, and I'm just going to leave it to dry, and then I'm going to redo it again and go back and forth basically. And I'll just leave this to dry for about 2 hours. That's what I did with the first side, or the front. And after this has dried for like 2 hours, I'm going to flip it over and repaint the other side again. And I'll go back and forth like that a couple of times until I'm somewhat happy, or yeah, we'll see what happens. So here you can see the body, and it's drying right now. I hope that the green is being picked up, and that you can see that there is a hint of green in it. I'm going to try to find the perfect balance, but right now everything is wet, so I have to leave it to dry. And I'll, yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, so here is the body now, and I don't know if you can see it, but there is a little bit of green in it, hinted at it. If I move it around, you can't really tell, but if I move it into this light, maybe you can see, I think you can see it. The green starts to sort of pop out, and it doesn't look that good on camera, but it looks kind of cool in real life. So we're gonna put some filler on so that the colors stay, and we're gonna clear coat it soon. Not yet, but soon, and then it's gonna look even better. Okay, so here is the body now. I think it looks really cool. It is covered, so I can't touch it, in sealer is the word I'm trying to find. But I just wanted to show you it a little bit because it has a little bit of shine, so you can get a little bit of an idea of what it's going to look like.
when I've lacquered it. Obviously the sealer has been put on with a scraper, scraped it across, and sort of, you know, just smear it on, get it on, leave it to dry. So we can't do anything more right now. Actually, it's pretty late, not super late, like 8 o'clock. So I'm just going to leave it until at least tomorrow. So I'm going to go, you're going to go, we're going to go on a walk together. Yeah! Okay, so I had some issues with the painting of the guitar and the kind of paint I'd used to make the burst and the green, and together with the prime and the clear coating, it just had a chemical reaction. Something didn't go well together with something else, and so I had to basically just scrap that idea, which is okay because my original idea was just to make a black guitar and nothing else. So I'm basically just gonna go back to that. It might seem a little bit bad, I don't know. I'm okay with it because it's my original idea, but the black burst on the green, you know, wood grain thing was really cool. So I'll probably return to that idea at some other point and try to figure out some sort of chemical solution that will let me mix a bunch of different things without issues. But for now, I'm just because I've been sitting on this guitar for a couple of months actually now, which you will probably notice. Yeah, I feel like maybe it's time to just continue working on it. So I've painted it with a primer, a gray primer, and I'm just gonna sand it right now, make it all flat and good, and then we'll just, you know, continue working on the guitar and hopefully get it at least somewhat done soon. Okay, so now I'm gonna route the channel for the binding, and I'm, from earlier experience in routing channels for binding, I'm a little bit worrisome, you could say, of my router's behavior. So I'm gonna protect everything with a little bit of masking tape. It's so thin, the masking tape, that I don't think that I'll have any issues with it making, you know, the binding not fit. And then I'm just trimming off the excess because I took a tape that is wider than the... And I cut at an angle so that I don't dig in to the body. I hope you can see how the blade is facing away from the body. And I'm just trying to make sure that I don't scratch into the newly finished. And I'm using a new razor blade that I've never used before. And I'm making sure, because it's so sharp, that it all goes smoothly. This is one of those times when you're doing something and it is very important that you're not using a blade that is in the slightest bit dull. You can use old razor blades for other things, you know, so you don't have to throw them away immediately, but this is one of those things where you really want to make sure you're using a new blade. And I might actually switch it out again and use another blade for the front, just to make sure that everything is nice and that nothing goes wrong. Okay, so now I've gone around, and as you can see, I've got a line here for the binding, and just because maybe someone don't understand why I put the tape down, I put the tape down to protect the sanding sealer that is on this grey primer, as it's actually called, because I've sanded it and I don't want to dent it or anything. Obviously I could have done the binding before doing my my final sanding, and I haven't done my final sanding, but it's just, you know, this is soft and easily damaged, and I just want to, I need to get the binding done, but I don't want to, yeah, hopefully you understand. I'm not explaining it very correctly or in a very good way, I feel, but yeah. Now I'm gonna do the same thing here to the back, and then we're gonna glue on some binding, and then we can paint the guitar and get some other things going for it and get done, and it will all be good. Okay, so now we can take off the tape, and hopefully we have a nice edge routed all around, and not too much, at least, damage done to the surface and the sides. And the way the reason why I did this is because I have had this happen before. You know, you route the binding channel on a guitar, and everything goes well, and then you do it again, and you ask yourself, why didn't it work this time? And then you realize, oh well, it's because the other one, you know, had really hard wood and there was nothing on it, and the second one had grain filler or paint or something, you know, on it, and that was just softer than the wood on the first guitar. Probably the reason why I put it on there to begin with. And the machine, both the bearing on the actual blade, but also the plate that the whole router is sitting on, is just, you know, it's not the nicest, the softest place in the world. It's not made for that, and it's just sort of, you know, working its way into the whole thing, you know? So, yeah. Sometimes that's just the way it is, and you just have to deal. But it really looks like we did a good job here. I have to do a little bit of an inspection and take a look and see before I say too much. But so far, so good. I don't see anything, at least, that is major, you know? And I'm routing a channel for a 2mm binding, which is pretty, you know, thick. So I feel like this is good, but obviously if I was routing something even, you know, something even deeper than that, then I most likely would have taken even more precautions. And I did go, you know, as shallow as I could, if you understand what I mean, and then came back and redid my work. So even though I didn't film making, you know, several passes, that's what I did. So I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by attaching the binding here, and I'm gonna let it stick out a little bit and trim it flush afterwards. I'm gonna use my heat gun and just try to heat this up a little bit so it becomes a little bit more manageable. And just press it into place like so, and just hold it there, cools off. I'm gonna hit this corner here a little bit. There we go. Just trying to press it into place and have it bend to the shape of the body. Now we just need some glue. So first off, be ready with the tape. There's one. And there's two. I think that will be good right now. Just trying to see if we can get this in there. And then let's apply some glue. And press it into place. And take the tape and just stick it down. And let's see if we can press in some glue here as well. And just press this back and have it forcefully make the bend and shape that we want. Like so. We need a bit more glue. And I'm gonna leave this to dry for a little bit. just because I don't like to do a bunch of bending and moving about without it being practical, I suppose, maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna at least try to glue it to this corner here, which I hope you can see. Actually, everything has moved out of the way. God damn it. I'm gonna try to glue to this corner here because we have a very sharp angle here, and so I'm gonna see if I can't get everything to sort of stick right there, and then I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so here is the front now. It's maybe not so much to look at. Everything is down. I have some gaps here and there. This did not go very well for me, which is why I didn't film it, because I didn't have time. This blue tape, I think it's low tack if I remember my tape correctly, was a very bad idea. I thought it would be a good idea. I haven't used it on this sort of thing before, and I'm never going to do it again because it was horrible. Just want to let you know, because I messed up a lot because of it. I'm gonna have to fix it. I'm gonna fix it. But yeah, I don't know if that's a good angle, but I have this corner here that I'm gonna try to reshape a little bit. So first off, I'm just gonna try to see if I can get rid of some excess, like so. And then I'm gonna just cut it down a little bit. And I'm just doing this right now because I'm waiting for the glue to dry. I'm going to leave it a little bit extra long to dry. And so I'm just taking a razor blade and I'm working on this edge here that is sticking out too far, and I'm taking it down into the size here where the body meets. I'm always almost or entirely out of frame, and I'm just doing my like initial or whatever you want to call it cut. I'm gonna go back and finalize it and make sure it fits perfectly in all directions, but something like that. It's a little bit neater, something like that. And then the same thing up here. I'm just gonna first off cut straight down to get rid of most of it, and then I'm gonna hold it flush to the body, and I'm just gonna let the blade go with the shape of the body so that it just gets cut flush. And just clean it up a little bit. And I'll go back and see if I have to do some more reshaping of this when everything is dried and the neck. I can try it with the neck and make sure it just looks perfect. Okay, so here it is right now, and hopefully you can see like I have some binding on it. It didn't turn out perfect. I had a little bit of an accident right here, for example. I don't know if you can tell, but I had to splice it in, so I have a seam there. And also I had an accident here. It's under the tape. And I'm gonna have to fix that afterwards, but I'm gonna just leave it to dry for now, and then I'm gonna sand and fix everything, and then I'm gonna just fill in a little bit of accidents here and there. Like up here, for example, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little gap there, for example. And yeah, and then I'm gonna sand everything and make it look nice. But it's gonna have to be another day, because now I need to take a break. Okay, so I'm gonna attach the neck now, and I'm gonna do some locating pins just to make sure everything glues up exactly where I want it. So I'm starting off by drilling these holes again, and you might ask, why did I plug them up if I'm gonna re-drill them? Well, I'm just gonna drill a little bit, so I plugged up most of the hole. Now I have these little locator pins. They look like this, and I can just place them in the holes like this and press them in, and then I can just press it into the body, which is what I'm going to do now, and then I'll have a mark for where to drill. Here I have the body, here I have the neck, You can't see the line that I've drawn, but here I have the pins. And I can just place this in and locate my line. Make sure everything lies where I want it to lie. Then I can just press on top of this a little bit. Like this. Pull it out. And I have 2 marks right here for where I can drill. So now I have my locator pins right here and my holes. I'm going to start off by putting a little bit of glue in the neck, like so. And then put in the little locator pins. And you don't have to care too much about the glue. You don't even need to have these locator pins. It's just, you know, the neck is at an angle. I'm reusing things that maybe things that I wouldn't use. You know, this is, you know, it's just an extra thing to complicate everything for myself. You know, I'll take a piece of wood because pressing with your fingers is a little bit annoying. Make sure it goes down. You know, something like that. And then I just have to take the body, which is right here, and I just I put down some glue. That's probably too much, but it's okay. Smear it around and cover everything. Nice even smearing. Just take our neck and we press it into place. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Something like that. And it actually holds itself in place very well. So we don't necessarily need to put a clamp on it, but we're going to do that anyway. Because we need to, obviously. So I'm just going to come in with a clamp, put it in here. I'm using these 2 extra pieces of binding to help me squeeze everything together and get some squeeze out on each side. I'll wipe it off with my finger first, and then I'll just so I don't get any weird runs, and then I'll go around and clean everything up. So yeah, as you can see, for example here, a lot of squeeze out. Got to clean that up before it gets worse. Now the neck has been pushed into place. So now that the neck has been glued in, I'm just gonna reshape this lower horn part here. And since everything is gonna get, you know, primer and filler and everything's gonna get smoothed out later, it doesn't have to look super perfect right now. I just have to make sure that things match up. I want a smooth transition from up here over this area here and into here. This clunkiness right here, I mean, it is only about 15 millimeters, so it's not that bad, but it will always have a little bit of clunkiness right here. But I can do something about it, and I can, you know, smooth out this area here into the neck and get a perfect match and a perfect fit. And so I'm just going to carve it away using a bunch of different tools to try to smooth out and make a transition here that is a little bit more along the lines of what I want for the guitar. Once everything is said and done, I want a feeling that it's all going together neatly. And since I'm going to put some epoxy clay and, you know, paint and all of that on here, I'm not being super over careful with the shaping. I'm just doing a rough work here, trying to get it as neatly and smooth as I can, but without going extremely overboard, because it's not really about that. It's about just getting everything down to a more manageable level. It will also be very good to do because I have a seam right here, which you can't tell, but it's the neck and the body going together. And hopefully I'll be able to just sort of make that disappear as well and get it all to be nice. And it's a little bit annoying because that paint chips and flies up into my mouth, but that's, you know, just something I'll have to deal with. That's one of the struggles of filming and talking at the same time. So you can't talk and wear a mask at the same time. So yeah, if you understand my pain and suffering now, I guess you should press the like and subscribe. Sorry.
This is one of those things that, you know, like big manufacturers don't do, but small manufacturers can do. And it's not that much, you know, extra work or something, but it just adds so much to the guitar. You know, just turning this from a 10 and an 8 out of 10 guitar into a 10 out of 10 guitar, you know, and just all those small little things that you can do to a guitar to make it better, and you just add all of them. Plus, it's actually really fun. I love carving in wood. So after leaving the body for a while, having it sitting around and pretending to play it, because it's obviously I can't play it because there's no strings or anything else, I just realized that the edge up here, it was poking me too much, so I'm reshaping it. And I'm basically just going to take this off and round it off and smooth out this connection here and just blend it in and just have another cutaway, because I really like the way it looks with the edge here and the binding and everything looking sort of vintage and nice, but I can't have it like that. Even if it looks nice, I can't have it like that, because it's one of the most pokey guitars I've ever made, or maybe even ever played, which I feel like is saying a lot. So I need to just carve away here and just try to figure out how to do this so it looks nice, and figure out how to also get the binding back, because I can't cut away here and then just have the binding stop. It's not an option. So yeah, I'm just going to carve here for a bit, and I'll be back once I've figured out something. So see you in a bit. So I had this idea that instead of just creating a new wall here and having the binding go along, because then it would just be another edge that would hit my hand, I would take and do a round over and have the binding lying with the round over. I hope I'm going to be able to blend this out and make it look nice. And the way I did was I cut this groove here, and I used one of these that is basically in my router, and it's pointed. I hope you can see it. There it is. And now I can take some acetone and I can dip my piece of binding in it. I hope that will be enough to make it easy to work with. And that was probably a dumb idea. I should have heated it up and worked with it that way instead. Yeah, because I need to put it in place here, and I need to basically force it to shape with two things, two angles. I need to bend after this, but also bend it that way. You'll see it once I've done it, but I need to get my heat gun. It's fun to try out things you haven't tried out before, so this is a new one for me. Once the binding is really soft, we can manipulate it into the shape we need it to be. But it's the first time I do this, and every time you do something for the first time, you have to allow yourself a little bit of wiggle room for it to not work out perfectly. We're creating a really strange shape here now. Yeah.
So it's been about 7 or 8 months. Yeah. I kind of forgot about this guitar a little bit. No, I didn't. I'm lying. I didn't forget. I kept pushing it away, doing other things, you know, stalling. But anyway, eventually I managed to paint it and sand it and buff it, lacquer it, all of that. So here it is. Now, what we need to do is we need to make a control plate. I think that's the first thing. We need to make a control plate and cover up this hole. We need to cut an edge, make it all nice and neat, and then we can start installing things. And hopefully, who knows, maybe we can get all of that done today so that we can play the guitar. If we can't play it today, then I suppose we'll have to do it tomorrow. Is this funny? Is this a joke? Is this... I don't know. Alright, so I probably should have done this earlier in the build, but I kind of forgot about it. Building guitars is fairly easy if you know in what order you're supposed to do what, and you just sort of follow the path, or whatever you want to call it. But sometimes, for one reason or another, some reason or... yeah, you miss something. Now I could just cut out a piece of plastic and put it over here, screw it down. But then it would be rice on top. It would be lying on top of the guitar. I don't want that. I want it sunken in like a proper, you know, cavity should be. So I'm gonna have to come up with some sort of solution of how to do this without messing up. You'll understand later why this is gonna be a little bit of an issue. But first, I'm gonna put tape down on both sides, like so, and also over here, something like that, and also something like that. Just cover it up a little bit. And the only reason why I'm doing this is because drawing with a black pen on some black lacquer is gonna be annoying, and I kind of try to make things easy for myself if I can. You should also. I'm gonna give myself a little lip and just draw a line around. I'm using my finger as a stop because that makes things easy. And I think I just told you that I like to make things easy for myself when I can. Yeah, so there we go. Now I'm all around. But I have this hole right here where the drill came out because this is channel going straight through the guitar because we have a cavity up here. We have 2 cavities here and we have a cavity here, and we need to connect them to pull wires through. So we have a hole here. And if the bearing, you know, if I'm cutting it with this, then I need to have something up here so that I can move it across. So we might do that. But if I have another bearing, which if I use one of these to cut the channel, which could be an easy way to do it, if I get here, then it will go into that hole and cut further in. So that's an issue. We have the same issue right here. So I'm going to try to mark that out. Something like that. And something like that. And then I'm going to make these lines long to show that it's a long gap. I'm going to give myself a little bit of space to stop before. And then I'm going to think about this. How do I want to cut this out? For example, cutting here, going with a round bit like this, but with a smaller bearing, would be very nice. That would make that very easy. The bearing would just follow, and the cutter would cut in the lip, and we'd be done. For these longer parts, maybe I want to switch over to this and cut those so I can make sure they get straight. If I take something like a board, not this board, obviously, because you can see it's kind of damaged, but if I take something like this board and I clamp it where I want it, and then I use something like this one. Obviously, I have to find a shorter one or a thicker board. I can have the bearing right along that, cutting in that channel. That is an option. I think I'm going to cut these parts out here first, and then I align the other ones. And then we'll transfer that over and try to make a copy. Okay, so round bit here. It's going to cut there. I've set it to the depth of the thickness of the material I'm going to use to make the actual plastic cover. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut a bit of the side as well. Not there though, because there I can see I have a little bump. right there. It's a little imperfection that I just noticed. It's a good thing to notice things before disaster. Yeah, right there I have something. Looks a little wonky, so I'm gonna do that to mark it. Okay, wish me luck. And the battery died. Okay. Well, see you in a bit when I've cut this. Alright, so now I'm taking this piece of wood here and I'm just aligning it with these two lines here and over here to get a nice cross across them, 2 points like this, so that when I go to route the bearing here can ride on here and just clean this up without touching the underside. So I think this right here, I'm gonna press the bearing. I mean, not an extreme amount of force, obviously, but some force. Press the bearing towards this. You know, put everything up to the line, adjust everything so it's correctly, and then press this against this and just move across this to over here. Simple little move to get that away. And then I'll do the exact same thing over here, but I only need to film this once, I feel like, right? You understand what it is I'm doing, right? So now it's down, that's securely. I'm gonna switch out the bearing. And yeah, I'll see you once I've routed all of this away. Yeah! Alright, I tried to do the exact same thing that I just did. Flip this over and have it on this side and ride along it. But I couldn't find a way to clamp it. So, because of balancing issues with this being on so close to the edge. So, what I'm going to do is clamp it here and push it this way. This is kind of risky because it's very easy to move it out of the way and accidentally cut weirdly. But what you have to do is bring this up to the edge and clamp this as close as you can, and bring this up to the edge and clamp it as close as you can. And then just hope that it works. And I think it did. I think it did. We have a little bump right there where we touched up, but I think I can smooth that out with a rasp a little bit. Just go in there like this and sort of just do a little bit of cleanup like this. And yeah, I'll be right back. Alright, so here's the guitar now. It looks okay. We have one thing that I want to do before we make the lid, and that is I want a little bit of edge so that I can get my fingers in and pick it up, or it falling out. I don't want a completely perfectly snug fit. We'll see how well I do this. But anyway, so there is going to be a little bit of wood showing through. So I'm going to take a permanent marker that is black, and I'm just going to come in here and just over exaggerate this edge here. Just like this. Obviously, had I done this before I painted the guitar, but I, forgot, I wouldn't have to do this. I would just have everything look nice and be the way I want it to be. But once the lid is on, it's not going to be visible. Just a quick little thing. If you ever had to route a cavity or something into a guitar, that you own, something that you've bought, then this is a little tip for you. You can just take a permanent marker and just fill in the edge, and it will look neater. And even if you have a different color, like if you have a red or something, even you can find permanent markers that are red, so don't get me wrong, but even if you can't for some reason, filling them in with black will make it look more intentional, like it's supposed to be, because you're not seeing wood, you're just seeing a little bit of black or something. But yeah, I'm gonna measure up and cut out a cover for this now, and then we'll screw it in, maybe 2 screws on each side, because I feel like this is too big for just one. And yeah, and then we can start with the electronics and things like that. No, wait, we have to drill holes for the bridge. God damn it. All right, so first we need this measurement here. We can just take this, push it up into the cavity and hold it up to the edge here, because we want it to be a little bit too small, basically. So something like that. I know, because this is the edge of the pickguard material, that this is straight, so I don't need to fiddle about too much. I'm just gonna draw that out like that. Obviously I can also check if it's straight, like that, so if you're worried. Yeah, so basically from that edge to that edge we have a pretty solid fit
We're gonna make everything a little bit too big so that we can sand it and smooth it and make it nice. Alright, the next thing we need to do is we need to take a measurement to get this. I'll take it somewhere here, and then I'll double check it right here. Alright, maybe there. That will be our measurement. I have this little thing that pokes out. Perfect for transferring things, so we'll draw one line there and one right here. The cavity isn't perfect, but I don't feel like it has to be. We'll make this fit and be nice and somewhat even all around. And then we'll do modifications to it if we need to. There and there. Just line those two dots that I made up and draw a line. Something like that. Cool. Now we just need a round over. Easiest would be if I had something that had the same roundness. So I'm going to take a quick look and see if I have that. If I don't, we're just going to have to measure it. But it's not going to be that hard. I'll show you how to do it if I need to. Alright, so I had this rule of tape, and it's actually perfect. So we're going to go with that. But if you don't have something that actually fits, what you need to do is you need to divide the space here to find a center line, and then take basically that measurement that goes to the center line from one of the edges and put that in on the edge right there, so that you have equal amount from all directions. And then you can do that over and over again until you get a circle, because a circle is basically from the middle of the circle out is the same measurement all around. That is what a circle is. But now we can just align these two lines here and here and draw out this half circle there, like so. And we'll do the same here. This edge here, and this edge here. Something like that. Awesome possum. Let's jump over to the jigsaw and just rough this out. I hope you can see where I've cut and also maybe see the line. If you can't see the line, I mean, I can't really do much about that, but yeah. I'm just going to take a file. I'm taking my Japanese, but that's just because I like how easy it removes things, but still makes it smooth. So, something like that. And all I need to do now is do the other side. And I hope you could see that went fairly quick and easy. I'm going to do this side as well because there's a little bit of cleanup here. And then I just need to go back and forth and fit it, remove a little bit, fit it, remove a little bit, and do that until I'm happy. So, I'll continue doing this, and I'll be back once I've made sure it fits. Okay, so let's see if this fits. I don't know why I say that, because I have obviously tried it and made sure that it fit. There it is. I just want to say, this went very easy for me, but I've done this a couple of times. I've done it a lot of times. Making pickguards is not that hard, but it's also not that easy, but you'll get better at it as you go along. So please keep that in mind if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I would never be able to do whatever you're doing. Yes, you'll be able to do this. Don't worry about it. You just need to practice, and by doing it to 10 guitars, you've practiced. You just don't think about it. I'm gonna add 3 screws to the back side here. I made a line here. I don't know if you can see it. Wait, can I get this out so I can show you? It's a little tight, so maybe I'll sand it down a little bit more. I hope you can see that line right there. I just took the measurement with my fingers to where is the middle here.
and I just transferred that here and drew a circle. And now I'm just making some marks. I'm thinking 3 in the back and 2 in the front, so that somewhere like there and there, maybe there, there and there, so that it can only fit one way. Because then I don't have to worry about, you know, anything. So yeah, I'm going to drill some holes and see if I can find some screws. So, first off, I made a little notch here so that I could pick this up a little bit easier. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. I tried to make it as small as possible so that it wouldn't be noticeable. So, if you can't see it, that's probably good. But it made it a little bit easier for me to pick this up. I'm going to remove the tape, if I can. I'm going to clean this off afterwards, because there's a little gunk on it from the tape. But yeah, we need to just get it out of the way, if we can. I mean, it's everywhere. Tape is good because it's like you can protect an area, you can draw on it, you can do a bunch of things. But it's also annoying. But anyway, here it is. And I drilled the holes. I countersank them a little bit with a bigger drill. Go slow so you don't drill straight through. And then I put it on here and I drilled holes into it. And now I can put these screws here and they should all line up into the holes that I drilled them into. And this guitar is going to have chrome hardware, and so the screws are going to be chrome, but I'm thinking for the back plate I'll go with these smaller black screws, just so that I can make it a little bit more invisible and maybe not that obstruct to the eye and all of that, you know. So we're just gonna screw this in here. There we go. Now they're all in, not super tightly, you know, but you don't have to like screw them down with all the force you have. And yeah, there you can see it now. I think that looks nice. Obviously there is some tape residue we need to clean up, but yeah. I'll see you in a bit. Meow. I need to mark out and drill the holes for the bridge and tailpiece. They're supposed to be somewhere around here, not up here, not down here, but somewhere around here. Okay, I'm trying to be funny. It's not working out. Anyway, from a Les Paul kit that I built earlier, maybe you guys remember it, I got this template for where to drill it, and it works pretty well, so I'm thinking, hey, why not use it again? I mean, I don't have to throw it away just because I know how to do this mathematically. I can just sort of relax and take it easy and use this. So, I have pieces of tape on the neck. You might be able to see them, you might not be able to see them. Oh, they're just out of view. And I've drawn out a center line on those. You just pick 2 frets. It doesn't matter if it's the 1st or 3rd or 2nd or 4th, but somewhere in the top here on the neck. And then somewhere in the bottom down here, you pick another one. And you just measure by the fret and divide it in half, and there you have the center line. And then you just take a ruler like this and you just align those 2 lines like so. Let's see, can I do this? Yes, 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 yes. And then we just align this line here as well, something like that. Yes. And then we take our awl, hold down the paper, take our awl, make a mark for where we're supposed to drill, like so. And then we can just remove this, and we can remove this, and we can sort of see. Now if we take our bridge and we sort of align it with these 2 holes that we've marked out, and then we take a string. I have a string on a piece of wood like this so that I can pull it out and quickly measure. We can sort of see what sort of alignment we have, and I feel like this looks really good, so I'm going to go with that. Super simple, easy little thing to do. Quickly and easy. So, I'm going to take my drill. I'm going to take my 2.5 mil and I'm going to align it and hold it straight and drill down.
Be careful so you don't drill through the body, but actually I think that would be hard for me right now. Something like that. Now we have a drill made hole so that we can be sure that we are on point. Give me a sec to just measure some things. So, I have 4 ones of these. Measure all of them to make sure that they are the same, because sometimes you get 2 different, and 2 for the bridge and 2 for the tailpiece, and they're not the same, all 4, but sometimes they're all the same. In my case, they're all the same. So you measure like this, you get a measurement, and yeah. This one is a 11.5, so we're going to try to make those holes there 11.5, which is going to be a struggle, because the nearest one is 12. So I'm going to rim these holes out to 12 and just go past the very tip of the bit, so that we have a little lip here that is 12. So now I have a little lip here. You're not going to be able to see, but trust me, it's basically a rounded corner or something. And it's easier to build up the surface we need than it is to like try to match it up. If we drill the hole the correct size immediately and not go up to it, there's more space for things to move. But now we're pretty close. So now we're going to drill these holes, and what we need to do is we need to switch to the correct drill bit. You can find off sizes on Amazon. They're great for that. I usually don't talk about Amazon being anything positive, but one thing that is positive is bit size. I mean, they have everything. For an evil corporation, they're very good for guitar builders. So we take our drill, we take a bit of masking tape, we take the measurement that is the height of the ferrule up to that little edge that is going to stick out and be a part of the upper. We take our measurement. I have a wood drilling bit in here, which means that it has a pointy bit. We are not going to count that into our calculations, so we put this down here. Oh, something like that. That's how far we're going to drill. We're going to check it on the side, just hold it up and glance. Okay, that will be more than enough. Okay, let's see here now. If we put this in here, we should... No, let's see if we can get in here. Okay, so here we have them now drilled. Forget what I just said about drill bits being good, because I mean, look at this Amazon. It's already chewed up. Used it like once before. I'm gonna pre-drill these a little bit extra here on the 12th. Just to be safe. And then I have one of these sanding balls, and I press it in, and I gently move it around like that so it sands away the edge. Something like that. That looks nice. And it's just because I don't want the ferrules, when I push them in, because I want them to be as tight and snug as possible so that, you know, nothing can happen. I don't want them to crack the finish. So I'm trying to make the holes as big as they can possibly be, but also as small as they can possibly be. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I seriously don't know what to say. Anyway, I'm gonna fill this in with a little bit of black permanent marker. Move my finger across to get rid of the excess that might be on top. Yeah, there's a little bit on top, something like that. That looks good, or at least it looks okayish. Okay, next thing we need to do is we need to drill a cavity. No, not drill a cavity, drill a hole from one of these to either this cavity or this cavity. So for this you're gonna need long drill bits, and yeah, I have here a couple of long drill bits. I'm gonna take this one, and I'm gonna measure it
and see what we're dealing with. We're dealing with 2 mil. And if I measure my wire here that I use for wiring guitars, this is a 1.5. So we can use this drill bit to make our hole. What we need to decide is, do we want to drill like that, do a direct ground cavity, or do we drill like that and then pull the wire through that in there? Yeah, you can do either of these 2 holes. Drill like that, or drill like that. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is you make sure you have a ground wire going to the bridge, connecting the strings to ground. So yeah, otherwise you'll get issues. So yeah, I think coming in here might be a good idea. So I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna put something down, like a ruler, for example. Do I have a ruler? Yes, I do. If I put a ruler here, like this, and I hold it up to the edge like this, there we go. Thought I would never get through there. I did scratch the edge there a little bit. Hopefully it will not be visible. Let's see if we can find that permanent marker and just fill that in like so. Okay, so now we can drive our ground wire there. So let's see, how much ground wire do we need? And then pull it up here. Give ourselves a little bit extra. Something like that. We'll go with that. And then we need to strip this wire back a little bit. Do a little bit extra stripping back. You see here, usually you don't need to strip back more than maybe 1 mil or 2, but here I have maybe 5 mils. Could that be 5 mils? Does it matter? As long as you do a little bit extra. That is actually 9 mils. Oh my god, I can't measure. Maybe my eyesight's getting bad. Okay, so let's see here now. Can I feed this through the hole? So, feed it through the hole. And then you're not going to be able to see this because of the angle, but put the wire precisely through the hole and then have only the bare wire stick through and clamp it in place with your thing, whatever this is called. And now we can whack it with a rubber mallet. And when it's flush, tug at the wire a little bit. Don't pull at it, just tug at it. Make sure it's there. Now, before we do anything else, we strip this one back. We're going to strip it back anyway, so we might as well do it now. You know? We take our multimeter, which you should have a multimeter. If you're thinking about building guitars, more than one, and it's not a kit guitar or something, you should have a multimeter. It's best thing ever. I've said that a million times. We move it to continuity, which is a symbol that looks kind of like a little airplane with a line across it. Yeah. What that means is when these touch, we can know that current goes through. So you can hear a beep. You can also see a reading that says 0, because some of them don't have the beeping function. I think you should get a multimeter with a beeping function. So now, if I hold this up to one of the prongs, it doesn't matter which one, make sure it's connected there, and I hold it up here and touch this, we should get a beep. Which we do. That means that as long as we do solder this to ground and we do it, you know, proper and all that, we are going to have grounding to the bridge. I'm going to put the other ferrules in and I'll see you after that. Last thing we have to do before we quit for lunch, before we start doing like wiring up electronics and all those sorts of things, is we need to attach the bridge and make sure everything aligns again. Just because if everything is wacky and weird and we have to do something about it, then, you know, I'd rather do it now than do it later. So we're just going to screw these in, and if there are any mistakes or things that are weird, then we'll have to deal with them now and not later when we go to, like, for example, try to put strings on or something. We also might as well screw these in, you know, we need them in place. So, does this go on? It does. Amazing. Does this go on? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yes. It's a little tight, but yes.
Okay, again, just to make sure that nothing moved or went wacky out of, you know, strange things happen, is what I'm trying to say. Double check the alignment of the strings. That looks nice, I think. You can't really tell from that angle, but that looks nice. All down the neck. And that looks nice too. It's a little more slanted, I think, than on the other side, but I think it will be nice anyway. I think that will look good. You can check the other ones just to make sure that it all looks nice. That looks nice. It's very close to the perfect alignment with the center line. That's exactly what I like to see. I think we're golden. Yeah, I think this will work. Okay. Very good, very good, very good. So I have this cavity here. It needs a little lip thing covering it for the switch. We're going with a 5-way Stratocaster kind of switch. I'm gonna cut this out. I'm not gonna show you doing that because I already showed you cutting out the back plate. It's gonna be the same thing, only this one is gonna be smaller. I'm just gonna take the measurements and I'm gonna transfer them over to this pick guard here because it's the same color as the binding and I want, you know, everything to be the same. So it's just, you know, I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger than this. Whatever this is like something like that. Yeah, and then I'll just transfer this over to a line here. So yeah, see you in a bit. So here I have cut out a little thing, and it's just a little bit bigger than this that I have right here, so it will fit over neatly, nicely, and cute. It will be adorable. I've drawn out a center line, just measured the thickness, divided it off. Then I measured it through here and got a middle there. Then I took a pick guard. I have it right here. Maybe you can see I put a bit of masking tape and I measured out the middle there as well. So now I'm just going to align this here, make sure I get the center line through the hole, and align the two marks, this one right there, which I hope you can see, and this mark right there, so that I have a at least somewhat decent lineup. Then I'm going to come in with this pen here and draw it out, like so. Yes, something like that. Perfect. Now I'm going to cut that out. Just an awl and a drill and a little bit of luck. Wish me luck. We're going to do a little bit of switch wiring here. Let's start off with the ground wires. We're going to connect both of these two together. And we're not only just going to connect them together, we're also going to attach them to this ground wire here. So that these 3 wires become one, so that we can pull the ground wire back through the cavity. It will make sense later if it doesn't already. And in the end, if it doesn't make any sense at all, I can't help you, because I feel like I explained it more than enough. That was just a joke. Okay, see if we can get some solder flowing. Yes, we can. Okay, and there we go. Nice even blob, like so. And then because obviously, or maybe I shouldn't say obviously, but you should know this, so I'm going to tell you so that you know. If the lead wires touch something, we will have issues. So we put a little bit of shrink tube over this connection. Try to put it as close as we can. I think I overcut this one a little bit, but it doesn't matter. And then we hold it as far in as we can so that it covers up as much as possible, and we just shrink it down. And the only thing that matters, it doesn't matter that it looks nice, it doesn't matter that it sits tight, it matters that it sits tight, but it doesn't matter that it's like super tight, all around, perfect. The only thing that matters is that it doesn't come loose. So I'm just going to heat this up a little bit, try to see if I can get it to melt away, keep my 4 lead wires away. Yes, we have 4 lead wires, 2 for each pickup, and that's because these are split. So we're gonna do some weird wiring on this guitar actually, and the only reason why is because I don't know. I kind of thought, you know, it would be fun if this guitar was weird. So that's why we're doing it. It's probably not good or smart or even desirable what I'm about to do, but that's what we're gonna do. So there we have that. Now we need to strip these wires back and tin them, and I'll be back once I've done that. So now we're gonna wire this up. So I have a couple of wires that I have to put in here, obviously. And I'm using one of these board switches because I have so many of them and they're kind of easy to use. And I like them. So first off, we have this pink one here that is gonna get connected to this side here. I think that will be easy
The pink one is the neck pickup. I'm talking about the wire here. I hope you can see. There's a green wire, a lime green wire and a neon pink wire. And the pink one is the neck pickup. And the red one is one coil, and the white one is another coil. And the white one is going to get connected here, because I feel like it would be nice to have that one over here. Oh, just a quick little dab, and then this one goes to the middle. That means that we will have a something like that. And then on the opposite side, here, we'll have to this leg here, the bridge pickup, and it will be the white one. Goes here, and no, stay put. And maybe I need a little bit more solder to get a good clean connection. And then the red wire to this middle leg here. It means that the weaker ones will be connected at the middle point. So the battery died before I could finish what I was doing, but luckily I saw it dying, so I stopped myself and went and got a new battery. So these two middle legs need a lead wire. That's basically it's going to go to the volume pot. You know, it's going to be good. There we go. Hold it in place for a second. And yeah, there we have it. Okay, so now we take these two wires and we twist them together, because these are long and they're going to go through the entire guitar. And you know, they're not shielded wires for a microphone or for like some high-end gears. So yeah, we need to do something about that. There can be a lot of interference, so I'm going to twist them around each other so that they become a little bit less noisy for a bit. Alright, so I pushed the wires through here, and they went all the way through and came out the other end here, together with some dust. And I was going to make a big thing about it, you know, showing you guys how to do this if it's fiddly, but maybe just making sure the cavity is big enough so that it doesn't become an issue is the real lesson here. Because, yeah, it went too smoothly for me. It went so smoothly that I didn't have a chance to show you if it doesn't go smoothly. And the guitar is dusty and I need to clean it off. But yeah, I just realized another thing, so we're going to jump over and fix that. And that is I've forgotten to drill a hole for the output jack. So yeah, let's jump over and do that, because obviously everyone knows this, even I know this. we need to have an output jack. I'm gonna screw down this switch though first, real quick. Just screw it down, make sure it's all good, so that it doesn't flop around and break. I don't think I need to explain this more than this. Piece of tape, measured out the middle. This is where I want it to be. I'll make a little poke with my awl so that I can guide my drill bit. I'm gonna start off with this. It has a little center thing there that will help me align everything. And I'm just gonna align it in that hole right there that I made, that little dot, that little mark, call it whatever you want to. And then I'm just gonna... Alright, now I'm gonna use a step bit to try and enlarge this a little bit more, just to make it a little bit easier for myself. Right, now that the hole is drilled to the right size, I can take this and I can pop it in here, and I can just press it up and screw it in place later when we get to there, and try to make it align nicely. We'll see how that goes. So I was looking through my drawer of parts and I found 3 knobs, and they are somewhat matching, not entirely. They're supposed to be relic knobs, so that's why they're a little bit mishmash in color, but they're pretty close. And a funny thing was that I found one that was blank. So I was thinking, since what I'm about to wire up, that could be kind of funny. And people will be like, oh, I wonder what that does. So yeah, let's jump into wiring this up, and yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. It will be bum. So let's start wiring this up. I'm gonna do my best to try and show you what I'm doing and explain what I'm doing. But this is small fiddly things inside of a cavity. My hands are gonna get in the way, but it's pretty simple. So here we have our pickups coming. The switch and all of that is happening up by the other end. So we don't really have to worry about it that much. And here we have our volume. And we have one leg there, you might not be able to tell, but that is grounded off. And then we have a wire in the middle going to this. So this is our out. And that means that this side here is where this lead wire needs to be connected. So I'm gonna spool these two from each other a little bit. Somewhere around here maybe. We don't want a bunch of wires flopping around in here, but we also don't want, you know, a bunch of things that can be interfering. The longer the wires are, the more interference we'll have. I'm just gonna cut this wire back a little bit and then cut off the outer plastic, revealing the inner metal wire. And then I'm gonna just put down a little bit of solder to tin this wire, or pre-tin it, as I'm always saying, even though I'm starting to think, maybe you guys are gaslighting me, that it's actually not called pre-tinning, it's called just tinning. Because, I mean, how can you pre-tin a wire? Does that make sense? How do you tin a wire before you tin it? Is the question. I'm just going to clean up this, or not clean it up, because it's going to look even worse. I'm just going to put a little bit dab down there. So there we go. Okay, so now the pickup is connected. We have this ground wire here that we're going to remove later. I'm reusing the electronics from earlier in the video. So yeah. This wire here is our pickup selector wire, and it needs to go over here. We'll cut it on here. Here is our tone pot. It's just a capacitor grounded off, and then you can blend in the signal. So there's nothing special going on there. There's nothing weird. If you don't know this about tone controls, they're basically just you're letting the signal have a connection to ground through a cap or a capacitor. And yeah, there's not that much more to it than that. Yeah, we're gonna strip this wire back a bit, make it a little bit longer, and we're gonna separate the two wires that are inside this wire. I know some people don't like these sorts of wires, and I think the reason why is because they associate them with cheaper guitars. But from like an electronic standpoint, they are superior to like cloth wires and things like that. You could argue that it doesn't matter, and that we're dealing with such small amount of wire that, you know, it doesn't matter. But I'm not going to argue with it whether or not it matters, but I'm going to argue that this is worse or not, because it definitely isn't worse. There's absolutely no evidence to support that this is worse. So here on the two legs, the middle one and the outer leg, I'm going to add a capacitor to stick one leg in through one hole and bend it over and fiddle around a little bit. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but hopefully you can see it once I'm actually done with it. I'm going to add a little solder just to make sure that leg is 100% connected. I'm going to add that there, and then our lead signal out, this one here, I'm going to add a little bit more solder to this ground just to be safe. And yeah, so this lead wire will get connected to this side here together with yeah, something like that. It's in place. And we'll hold this ground wire away. Here we have two wires coming out from over here. I hope you can see it. It's just on the corner. That's our jack. So the white one here is our positive, and that's going to get connected over here as well, on the opposite side. It technically doesn't matter which one of these two you get connected, because the point is that they get connected through the pot. Okay, now we have two ground wires here, and I'm gonna try, hopefully I can do this. It might be very fiddly for me to do. I might add a little bit more solder to them just to have a little bit more to work with. I'd like to solder them to the back of this pot, but we will see if we can actually do that, because it's a little bit fiddly in here at the moment. All right, so now what do we have left? Yeah, we have this ground wire from the bridge, this ground wire from the pickups, and we have this ground wire here that we're supposed to take off, but I had more of an issue getting that in place. So I'm thinking I'm going to try a thing, and we'll see if it works. I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to pull this wire off, like so, exposing this little rascal over here. It's okay for me to call them rascal, they're my wires. Just so you guys know, if you feel offended. I'm just gonna solder all of these wires together over here, I was thinking. But maybe I can't. You know what? Forget it. That wire there is being weird. I somehow can't get solder to flow to it. So I'm gonna just snip that off. I'm gonna take these two ground wires. I'm gonna move them over here where I want them. I'm gonna get myself some extra. I'm gonna cut these off. I'm going to strip these back. I'm going to give myself a little bit extra pre-stripped wire.
like so. And I'm going to twist these two together immediately, because I can. I mean, they're both going to the same place anyway. Just pre-tin them a little bit, something like that. Just give myself a little bit extra solder right here, something like that. Put this down, and then come in with my flatter soldering iron that just heats up things a little bit better. And I'll just melt both of those into place. Something like that. Hold that down for a second. Remove the soldering iron. Let it cool for a second. I'll give it a tug. First thing we need to do is take our multimeter. We move it over to continuity. It's that symbol right there. I hope the camera will focus enough for you to see. That symbol there is for it being the continuity mode, and that one is for there being a speaker. Okay, let's see if we have ground. I'll put this under the microphone so maybe you can hear it. Let's see if you can hear some beeps. Cool. Let's see if I can get in to touch the bridge. There's the bridge. It's all good. Great. Great. Okay, let's move over to the other bench.
Somebody once told me one stone. I think the shop is still in the shed. She was looking at it down with a finger and thumb in the shape of an L on forehead. Well, you're talking about back to the camera. The next time the pop it's not to do so much to what's wrong with taking back to. Way now, you're sorry, game on no play. Now you're sorry, game on get there. And all that glitters gold. Only shooting stars break the mold. Let's go and take a couple. And now I go. And not just in the front. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't remember the but it doesn't matter. Anyway, look at this. I got the turn. That's all cool.
Here I have a nut that I just made. It's out of bone because if you know anything about guitars, you know the nut should be out of bone. I'm just joking. Anyway, so first off, I'm going to align the height I want the slots to be cut before I cut them. And there are a bunch of ways you can do this. One way you can do this is you just take a pen and you split it down the middle like this. And then I put tape on the underside just so that it doesn't smudge my frets. Then you just glide it across like this. And it should give you a line. I'll show you the line real soon. I obviously already did this because I cut the top to be this line. You want a little bit of extra up here, about half or 2/3 maybe the thickness of the thicker E string. Something like that, roughly. You can have a little bit more, you can have a little bit less, but start off point somewhere there. Anyway, I round this around here. And now I'm going to cut my slots down to before they touch the line. Just a smidge before I touch the line. And I know that doesn't sound accurate, and it doesn't sound, maybe, it sounds kind of like voodoo mumbo jumbo things. It's like not actually measuring. You can measure this out, but I feel like it's unnecessary. But if you want to, there is another way you can do this. If you have a feeler gauge, you can take out whichever one you prefer. If we say, for example, this is a 0.20 mil, so it's pretty thick, but I could put this over my first fret, hold this up over that fret, and come in here, and I could redraw that line. Then I could say, okay, well, I'm going to cut to that line, and from the first fret, this is the amount it will be off the fret. And obviously, I could pick any of these, depending on what I wanted. Maybe I want 0.70. You just hold this up against the fret, and just let this ride along that, and just press down on the first fret where this meets up. Anyway, I'm going to turn the camera around now. I hope you'll be able to tell that there's a line right there. And I'm going to cut up until I touch the line. The top of the line. I still want to be able to see the line go all across. I'm just going to cut up to that line. Alright, so now is the actual slots. Now, there are several ways you can do this. You can get a specialized ruler for nut cutting. You can measure it out. I mean, technically, you can put the slots wherever you want to create whatever string alignment you want. For example, maybe it would be really cool to have a guitar where the A and the E are so close enough that you can play them like a 12-string thing, for example, maybe. Or just press with one finger for 2 strings. That's a little bit weird and wonky, maybe. But what you can do also is you can take your old nut, hold it up like this, and you can see where the strings are supposed to align. And you can adjust according to preference and what you want. I'm going to do that because I usually have a right-handed nut lying around that I can use for this. And I first just mark them off on the top where the strings will meet the fretboard. Hopefully there you can see the lines, little marks. I don't draw them all across first because this is the important part about guitar nuts, that
cheap, inexpensive guitars don't have, and that's why you always have to replace the nut. But you can do this really easy. You take a ruler, you push it up against the tuner, and then you push it up against the line that you've marked out, and then you mark out the entire line. Then you jump over to the next tuner and the line that it needs to match up with, and then third one, and then we flip it around to that side, press it up against the tuners. I hope you could see how I'm pressing up against them. Now I'm doing the ones that are a little bit off. So let me zoom out a little bit. So I've done those three, and now I do this. I press it up against, try to hold it in place, align it with the line where I'm going to cut, move over to the next one, so the A string, move it over to the line, and then the last, the E string, and I align. They're not 90 degrees from here. If you take this edge here and you hold them up, you can see that this one is pretty close to 90. This one is obviously a lot off, and this is even more. This one is off, and this one is off, and this one is almost aligned. And that's because they're aligned with the tuner. That means you don't get a weird breaking angle off here. If you make them completely straight, here you will have a breaking angle. Strings will snap easier. It will be hard to get them in tune. They will bind up in the nut. Now you'll have a smooth transition. Now we just have to bring out our files and cut them down. We'll cut in this groove right here. We'll hold the file in that groove and make sure we aligned it properly. And we'll cut them down to that length that we just saw. So the slots are the right depth, the right thickness, and the right angle. We're also going to do one more thing. The last thing we have to think about is the angle. If we imagine that this pen right here is my saw, if I cut the slot like this, coming in from this angle downward like this, the high point is going to be back here, which means the nut is not going to be correctly intonated with the frets. This is supposed to be the stop. The stop is this line here. If I cut it so that the stop is further back, then not only is the guitar not going to be able to actually be in tune, you won't be able to intonate the guitar. You might be able to get it to be somewhat in tune back here if you're lucky, but up here in the higher register, forget about it. You'll never get it to be intonated and play in tune. But also the string vibrates and move, and it will be hitting the bottom slots right here, and it will create a sitar effect. It's a very common thing when you have a nut that is weird and makes a sitar sound, that the slot is too high in the back and low in the front. So what we do is we take this angle on this headstock, like here, and we align our saw with this angle here, and we cut our slots like this towards the tuners. If you have another neck, for example this neck here, the string still have to align with the tuners. They're still going down, so you can still cut them down, but that angle can be too shallow, and so that's why, as you can see right here, there are holes for string trees. Then you have to align with the string tree instead, and as you can probably tell by me just holding this either up to the hole of the tuner or holding it up to the hole of the string tree, the angle is steeper. But you don't need to have a string tree on every guitar. It all depends on how the neck is made and how shallow or deep this curve here is. On some guitars it's really, really shallow and you need a string tree. First off, I cut with my thinnest blade, and I just cut straight down on the line, and I just established the line that I want to make. I don't cut particularly deep or anything, and I just sort of make sure that I have something that will guide the other ones later. Okay, so one thing you can do is you take your file, you move it upside down, and you put it into the slot, and you rest it on the third fret. And you should see a little gap. If you have it in the slot all the way down, you should see a very tiny little gap, about the size of the line of that you've made. Or if you went the other way and you used the feeler gauge and you cut to the line, then it should be the thickness of the feeler gauge, which means you could put it in under and you could check it. If I hold this up here, let's just do the B string and relax. What could that be? It's about a gap of 25, which means 1/4 of a millimeter, about. And obviously you would have to check all of them, but for the video's sake I'm just checking one, which I think is perfectly fine right now. Let's put string on this guitar. Okay, so here are this guitar with the strings on. I've played a little bit, had a little bit of rigmaroling. Yeah, it's all good. What I do to fine tune it is I hold the guitar in my hand like this, and I press with my finger like this. And if I feel like there is a little bit too much force that I need to press down for it to hit the first fret, then that means that it's too high. Now, I like to do it this way because at the end of the day, it's all about feel. It's all about it feeling nice and fitting you. So, for example, this E here, I feel like it coming down just a smidge would be a good idea. So I'm going to detune this a little bit and just pull it off to the side and take my file and just remove a little bit like this. Put it in again, tune it up a bit, and maybe remove a bit more. And I'll just do that until I feel like it's perfect. And then we'll plug it in and play it. I need to put a cover on. I need to cover this. Cover. The plate is in place, the cover or whatever it's called. I'm just gonna drill some holes. Just so I can attach a screw, you know? Now, I marked them out with an awl just before I started filming, because that little mark, ding, whatever you want to call it, little center punch thing, whatever, will help guide the drill bit. So if you think like, oh my god, did he just do that crazy thing where he just eyeballed that hole? I didn't eyeball it. It might have looked like I did. I just didn't feel like filming all the steps. But yeah, now we have everything is in place. The strings are in place. I need to do a final little bit of intonation. The strings are like 2 cents or whatever off. It's just a little bit of movement. But I need the strings to be on a little bit longer. And I need to just tune and detune the guitar and all of that a little bit. I also need to set the height of the strings so that they are closer to exactly what I want. I haven't really decided on that yet, but you need to have the string height first before intonation. It's easy to do. You just move the saddles back or forward depending on if the string is sharp or not sharp, the opposite of sharp, in the other direction. But anyway, there's the cover. I switched out the cover from the original cover because the original one was just a weird off-center triangle thing. This looks more classic, I think. So we're going with that. Let's plug it in and play it. Okay, so here's the guitar. Let's plug it in. Here I have a pick. Okay, I hope you guys can see me. Here's the guitar. Let's start up the amp maybe. So here's the neck pickup. It's both coils. Yeah. Then here's the bridge pickup. And the strings are new, so they're already a little bit out of tune. But let's just run through the pickups real quick. Okay, so in this position, it's the humbucker plus one of the coils of the bridge. So it's neck plus half a bridge. Which is probably my favorite. And then next middle, it's 2 coils, one from each pickup. And then now it's the humbucker in the bridge and 1 coil of the neck. I fucked it up there. But anyway, and then the bridge again. Yeah, I'm gonna tune the guitar real quick and you'll get to hear a little bit better recorded. But I feel like that's a That's a good first indicator of what the pickups do. Yeah, now I'll just play a little bit and move through the pickups. I'll start at the neck. Give me a sec to tune this again, because it needs tuning. Well, that's the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I realize this is a really long video, so I just want to thank you all for sticking with me to the end, if you did stick with me to the end. I hope you learned something. I hope you think the guitar is cool. I like the guitar. It's going to get a little bit better once I've really fine-tuned it in, and I got the action to be perfect, and I got the intonation to be perfect. But I'll do that off camera, because I've done that so many times on so many guitars on so many videos. One thing that I realized now that I stood up and played the guitar is that I forgot these side dots. I forgot to fill them in, and I forgot to drill new ones on the other side. So I'm gonna have to do that as well. I also need to put on the back cover, because I forgot that as well. But you know, that's not the end of the world. I can do that, right? You believe in me? Anyway, thanks so much for watching. And until next time, don't forget to stay awesome and cool, and go and turn a guitar that maybe you didn't think was super cool into an awesome, cool guitar. You know? I didn't do this because the Gibson, or I didn't do this because the Les Paul was anything wrong with it or anything like that. It's just that it was a right-handed guitar. But I feel like this is a cool guitar, like the shape and everything. It's something that I've never had. It's something that you don't see that often, and I feel like it's a cool, slick, different guitar. And I did change the back of the guitar, so it's actually really comfortable to play high notes on, you know, like it's something that you don't get on most Les Paul types guitar. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I hope you guys think it's cool too. I'm gonna go. You're gonna go. Go do something fun. Go build guitars. That's, you know, that's the point of all of this. Don't watch any other videos, even if you're watching my videos. Unless you need to watch them in order to do something fun, then you can watch videos, but don't watch too many videos. Get building or playing. Yeah. Otherwise you'll just, you know, you'll regret it later when you're old and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I should have spent more time building and playing, not watching videos on YouTube. I'm starting to ramble. I'm gonna go. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Bye! Damn it, I forgot. Blop. No. Something better. Something that matches a little bit nicer. Oh, yeah. That looks good.